Today I'm gonna show you how to stop drawing stiff looking characters and draw more dynamic looking characters by using these simple tips and exercises. So let's get to it. I've been working on this illustration here of my character Eris, and as you can see, this pose is pretty cool. It's nothing crazy, but at the same time it is dynamic, and I want to show you how I didn't use reference for this. Alright, so my first tip is to practice figure drawing. If you want to get really good at drawing dynamic poses and figures, it's a good idea to practice a lot of figure drawing. You can practice this by drawing 10 poses for 30 seconds each. And when you get done with that, just draw 10 more people at 60 seconds each. The point of this is to be able to capture the gesture and pose of the person quickly. So don't worry about the person's clothing or accessories or their face or hair. You just want to get down the pose and the gesture of that pose. I like to use figure drawing to warm up and get ready to draw for the day. Figure drawing just helps you simplify the human anatomy, and it makes you have to draw each pose really quick. And so that's why after you get done drawing the 30-second to 60-second poses, it's a good idea to slow it down and draw a few poses at 5 to 10 minutes. That way you can go in and add the detail that you want. But if you are a beginner, it's a good idea just to stick to the 30-second or 60-second studies. So tip number 2 is to start drawing and thinking in perspective. As you can see here in the time lapse, I'm drawing some poses from my imagination, and I'm using simple shapes like the boxes and cubes and cylinders to draw people and draw poses in three-dimensional space. And using simple shapes helps you do that more effectively. And it's also a good idea just to learn how to use 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. So my last tip is to challenge yourself by drawing a group of characters in dynamic poses. In this time lapse, I wanted to draw a group of characters all in different poses and angles and combine everything I learned from figure drawing and drawing from imagination. I wanted to apply those skills to my own characters. This really forces you to get creative and learn how to use foreshortening and learn how to use perspective to create interesting poses. So I have this page in my comic that I'm working on. This is going to be the last page of the book, and I really wanted to end the comic with some type of scene where the characters are walking away, and it just looks cool. And I really wanted to play with the perspective, so that's why I'm playing with the perspective grid and trying to figure out the best way to angle the perspective. And when I ended up just going with a 1-point perspective grid. I think the 1-point perspective is perfect because it just helps that feeling of the characters walking away and ending their journey. And so as you can see, I drew over the top of my initial sketch and I added the basic shapes, those squares, those cubes, and the cylinder shapes. And so now what I'm doing is I am going over those shapes and redrawing and sketching the actual character and all the anatomy. If I didn't go in and sketch those basically like building blocks for the anatomy, it would have kind of been harder for me to visualize the characters in this perspective. And so that's what those boxes are for. That's what those cylinders are for. It's just to be able to help me understand how to draw these poses, these figures in this perspective. And because it's a 1-point perspective, it's pretty easy to just draw cubes going in a 1-point perspective grid. And so after that, all I have to do is just sketch my characters and all the anatomy that goes along with them over the top of that, and just start having fun, because this is the fun part of the process for me. I just get to draw over the initial sketch. And so yeah, this is a great exercise for you to practice with. Definitely after you get done with figure drawing and learning how to pose figures with simple shapes, it's a good idea to just challenge yourself by drawing a group of characters like this. And what better place to do this than in a comic where you want all kinds of different angles and different shots for your characters. So let me know what the hardest part about drawing dynamic poses is for you. And I hope that you can take some of this stuff that I talked about and you can apply it to your own work. Again, it's just all about that figure drawing practice, building up the skill of simplifying the human figure into basic shapes, drawing those shapes in perspective, and then after that, challenging yourself to go and draw a group of characters like this in that perspective, in that cool dynamic way. So yeah, hopefully the result is a unique, interesting, dynamic looking pose and figure. And I hope this helped you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.